I don't think that Digital Paradox is going to be so fast and so smart at adapting to what's happening on the map as to completely dominate the enemy team so much. So Echo Zulu with a little bit more freedom, they might feel strong enough to actually do something right here.
Yeah, definitely. But still, Echo Zulu, if we maybe take a closer look at the teams again, talking about picks and bans, what are we to expect here? Maybe they will try to target the enemy team again. So which are the bans that you would be looking out for?
For Echo Zulu, it would be pretty handy to get something really nice on top lane for themselves, while Digital Paradox might focus on protecting their top laner. So there's a possibility we'll get to see some Rumble ban right here, or maybe a Fiora ban. Basically, the top laners that can dominate their lane, and possibly Digital Paradox will go for something a little bit safer for themselves. But sometimes losing the top lane so horribly is not about you not being a good top laner. It's about you not hitting your preferences on that game, simply because we've got many brilliant aggressive top laners in the LCS that are forced to play with something tanky, like during the tank meadows, Poppy, Maokai, and all that stuff, when they want to actually be the carry, when they want to shine. We had many players like that, even publicly complaining that they don't want to fit into the team, but that's what they have to do. So possibly that was also a thing with Digital Paradox. Maybe their top laner, Guillotina, just needs something different for his team. Maybe he's not as comfortable on that Shen. And you could clearly see how thought through the team comp was, because everything meshed really well together. They had a ton of crowd control, and when they team fought, they used it. It worked nice. But yeah, they also have to think about the personalities of their players, and it cannot punish the top laner so much if it is for the sake of the team comp.
Talking about that top lane, we also have to talk about the jungler because Bambao was missing some of those early ganks. So this could be another thing he really needs to do in order to excel here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mentioned before we went into the break. Right there on that Ramos, I expected him to be a little bit more active. I mentioned how straightforward of a character it is. You just roll into the lane. All you have to do is land a successful taunt, and that's 99% of the job done. You can very easily guarantee yourself a kill that way. But it's not like he had some failed attempts. He just did not have the attempts, and I feel like he needs to lay down that early game pressure, because most of the time when you've got a huge favorite facing off against a team that should probably have no chance, the only moment when that underdog can thrive really is the early game. You don't only see that on the amateur tournaments. It's not only the Challenger Series. It's not even only the LCS. It's also the World Championship. Sometimes teams are able to win the early game. Hell, some people against SK Telecom Team 1 were able to lead by 10,000 gold, but they were not able to close it out. That's the thing. And if, as Digital Paradox, you're not even able to get that advantage in the early game, then you're never going to get it. So they have to use the limited amount of time that they get in the very beginning to get themselves snowballing. Then they can execute their game plan nicely. They can actually close out the game. But without the early game, if they're the underdogs, in against teams like Instinct, against teams like Azuba, they will never stand a chance.
Yeah, so maybe they should try to do some early game a la Doran's Alpha, just trying to get into a bush and maybe take your opponent off guard just to surprise them. Maybe that's something they have to train now versus Echo Zulu here. On the other hand, the same situation is established for Echo Zulu, so they should maybe try to get themselves also comfy in that early game and maybe put some focus on that in that game if they really want to do something against Instinct and after that against Isuba, because Isuba is going to be the final boss in this group and even Instinct is going to be tough to beat.
But that's what Zeko Zulu actually tried to do against Isuba the first time. And I feel like it is a good idea to actually try and do that, because if you hit it, you will be able to take control of the game for a couple of minutes against a much stronger enemy. But if the enemy is too strong, then what we saw actually happens. Esports just took control of the enemy's jungle. They didn't make anything of that. They could have left their own vision out there, and they didn't even just go for the vision. They actually stole the buff, and from that point on, they completely conquered the top half of the enemy jungle for a very long time. It was at least like 7 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, because until the second rotation, they were still there and they were still attacking that Graves. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Graves. And even if they didn't get the kill, it was enough to put down the pressure. So yeah, Graves, Kled, I remember that these were the top two characters out there for Echo Zulu, and that Kled definitely could have worked out. He had some lead out there in the top lane. He was doing quite fine. Graves was punished a lot because of that early move that they went for right there. So in the bottom lane right there. So I feel like Echo Zulu should be able to execute all that against Digital Paradox. Of course, not without an answer, but without such huge problems like they had against the Czech team.
Yeah, definitely. So something we did not talk about yet is the bot lane. What do you expect those teams to bring to the bot lane in order to get an advantage over their opponents? Are we going to see something
Ash,
crazy? Maybe not. Okay, you go for Ashe, so maybe the more standard play, maybe the Ashe and Zyra combination.
yeah, maybe the Ash Zyra that Digital Paradox had against Instinct was not bad at all. That's what I think, and I'm gonna stay with it. But there is a possibility that they're not going to be allowed to simply take that. We already saw Zaya yesterday, we saw Zaya today. So for these two teams, that is a chance to try them. This far, these characters have been pretty successful. So if either Echo Zulu or Digital Paradox want to go for the Zaya, want to go for something really crazy aggressive, they should go for it. Because, as I say, it is going to be a little bit about the brute force in this matchup. It is going to be about who takes control, because later it's a little bit easier. Both of them definitely will not be comfortable in this matchup. They realize that either of the teams can be eliminated very easily. They realize that even if they go further, they could be eliminated very, very easily. And it's all going to be about the clash of powers right here of Echo Zulu between Digital Paradox.
Yeah, every game now has to feel like the last shot at going to the finals, and it is the last shot for them. So there's a lot on the line for the teams. Just to tell you once more again, they're fighting for a share of a €3,000 prize pool, and they will get a paid travel package in order to go to the offline finals in Hamburg at the ELC studios. And yeah, they would definitely have a great time, but for now it still looks like Isuba, they are gonna secure that spot and maybe might be the second Czech team already to go to our offline finals. But for now, Echo Zulu and Digital Paradox, that is what is on the line for them, and they're definitely gonna fight for that.
Yeah, there definitely could be a lot of Czechs out there in Hamburg. Like in the first Legend series in Counter Strike, we did have some Germans playing against Brazilians. So with the Brazilians triumphing actually in the finals. Here, it's gonna be a little bit bigger because we invite 4 teams this time, not just 2 teams. It's not just gonna be one match, but it's actually gonna be the real playoffs out there on this spot. But might as well be just 2 nationalities facing up against each other. If I remember, no, this is Group B where we don't have an Italian team. So who knows? Maybe we're gonna get 2 Czech teams from Group A and B, and 2 Italian teams from Group C and D, and it's still gonna be just 2 nationalities clash.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. But I think that 2 teams from the Czech Republic, that's good enough, and then I want to see something else mixed in there. Maybe I still hope that Euronics Gaming, they're playing tomorrow. They're playing in Group C. I still hope, as a German, I kind of have to cheer for them. I still hope that they make it to the offline finals, because I also know some guys on that organization, but also a lot of Czech guys. Everybody that I've met from the Czech Republic in esports so far, they've just been great guys, and let me tell you that they know how to party, and they definitely are great people. So I'm really looking forward to meeting them at the offline stage. And
Yeah, and talking about Euronics gaming, I remember Euronics doing quite fine in the Legend series of Counter Strike. But of course, the Legends, the German team that actually, after all, got invited because Tricked Danish team replied that they cannot come, and that could be a pretty similar story right here because the team I'm looking forward to seeing in Group C is Supernova, the Danes. So maybe once again it's going to be a little bit of a repeated scenario where Danes will take first place and Euronics will be just off with the Germans taking the second spot right there in the group. Who knows? But at least there's a lot to look forward to because, of course, you're talking about Euronics Gaming. I know them too. It's a big name in esports, and Supernova also in that mix. We're gonna have two additional teams in the group. I feel like Group C will be pretty tough one. In Group A, we did not actually have like big expectations. We did not necessarily know who should be taking the first place, but it was pretty one-sided right here. It also seems to be pretty one-sided with Isuba going straight to the finals and now looking for that first place spot. But then in Group C, I don't know what will happen. I actually think that there will be some evened out games, and that could be the group that we're waiting for. Actually, with just fingers crossed that we're gonna get some intense matches.
yeah, and I'm still waiting for the moment where the first match between two teams has a different outcome than the second match, because I just want to see those little differences and the little switches the teams did in between in order to change the outcome. We haven't seen something like that so far, but tomorrow might definitely be the day for that. So if you got nothing planned already, just check us out tomorrow again and participate in another giveaway, as our giveaway today is still going on. Just after the stream, we will raffle a Poppy collectible, and you still have the chance to participate in that. So if you want to, you can just check it out in the stream chat. We also have our admins. They will explain it all to you. They will explain something to you if it's unclear, or if you experience something that throws up a question. But for now, I already read a lot in the internal chat that the teams are getting ready, so we are just seconds away from going into those picks and bans.
All right, good. It's nice to know that the teams are on the move, that they're preparing themselves for this, but because it's going to mean a lot for these two teams. Getting knocked out from the last place in the groups is just not something that anybody wants. And as I saw, Digital Paradox are also quite proud that they got qualified right here and that they will play in the group stage of the League of Legends series. So best of luck to them. Of course, Zulu, of course, also. So that they don't get left out. As you said, for Euronics Gaming, that you are German, so you feel kind of that German pride, and you have to be rooting for them somehow. I don't necessarily feel that for the Polish teams, but I also kind of would be disappointed if if the only Polish team that is in here would end up being fourth in the groups. And as I mentioned also yesterday, I'm kind of surprised that there's only one Polish team taking part in this entire competition, because usually a lot of Polish teams, if there is an opening, if there is a possibility to take part in some qualifiers to qualify for a tournament with some prize pool, they will all want to go there. So I don't know. As I said, there's a lot of talks about leagues, like consistent leagues in Poland. Right now, there's quite a bit of tournaments, so maybe they're a little bit too busy on the schedule. But I'm surprised, really, that there's only one team here.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about that German pride. Unfortunately, if you're a German, you're not really allowed to cheer for your country. But in this case, I really like that organization. Just, Euronics Gaming. I'm keen to see that. We were talking about Group C. Let's spread it a little bit out to Group D, because on Friday we will have Group D played out with Bulldog Esports, iDomina, FTW Esports, and TES Gaming as well. So we have two Italian teams in that group. And once again, the question is, do we have a clear favorite in that, or could this also be a pretty evened out group?
Oh, it's hard for me to say. Definitely, also the Portuguese team. There's only one, so once again, I'm gonna be rooting for them. I'm always this kind of guy that likes the underdogs. So when there's little of something, I'm gonna be rooting for it. So there's little Portuguese people in this tournament. I'm gonna be rooting for FDW in Group D, but also I feel like TES could be pretty dangerous. And as we mentioned, like Instinct, the best Greek team, ESOBA, the best Czech team. Then we've got Alzex, that is the second best Czech team. Like we've got some really, really strong teams from local scenes taking part in the tournament. So Outplayed got pretty easily ruled out. And I believe that amongst Impact Gaming, iDomina, and TES is going to be like the best Italian team, or at least one of the best Italian teams. And they might dominate, but I don't actually have so much info on the local Italian scene. And that also brings me to the point that I'm surprised we don't get to see any Spanish teams in here. That could be
Yeah,
pretty
definitely.
interesting
But
too.
that's a very interesting point you're talking about because Outplayed, they have a big name in Italy, but they were just manhandled yesterday in that Group A. So for the rest of the Italian teams, what are we to expect of them? If Outplayed, they really disappointed us a lot. We were expecting Panathinaikos and Outplayed to really step up in that group, and they were eliminated as the first two teams. And Impact Gaming in that strong group with Oronix, Supernova, and Gameizer, maybe they don't even stand a real chance because, yeah, Outplayed, they really blamed the the Italian LOL scene.
Oh well, maybe. But also, I don't see such a clear favorite as Alzex Status was right there, as we have Eatsuber right here in Group D. But then looking back at Group C, then we have Gamizer also alongside with Impact Gaming. That makes it all the more interesting. I also have very high hopes of the French scene, so it's going to be the only French team right there. So we've got Euronics, Gamizer, and Supernova that I'm quite sure should be battling it out on quite an even level. Then maybe Impact Gaming is going to be the dominator right there. And once again, we're just going to have one good team in a group, or rather, one team that is much better than the others in the group rather than just good, because all of these teams are good, actually. As I mentioned, Digital Paradox kind of in the shadow of the Polish scene, but they're doing quite fine on the Polish scene. And it's just about eSuba being two levels higher than them because these guys are attempting to qualify to the Challenger Series and they're making some good attempts while Digital Paradox is pretty far away from that.
And we're just hearing out of the production that we are facing some difficulties with the team, so it will take another 2 or 3 minutes until they are ready for the picks and bans, but then we will finally get all the action out to you.
All right, so yeah, as far as I know, there were some talks about who gets blue side, who gets red side, and yeah, that's pretty important always. Of course, about the stats, the blue side was winning throughout the history of League of Legends, but in my opinion, it's pretty evened out, and also it's proven like some teams just prefer to play on the red side, and that we've even seen the playoffs of the European LCS when in a best of five, or one team would be picking red side. Only Origin also caught my eye because these guys were very often picking red side, and I was always wondering, like, these guys are on the very bottom of the league. They have to pick themselves back up. Why do they keep picking the red side? So there's got to be something on it, and it's not like only the blue side is the one that can do good.
But those two teams arguing about which side they're going to play on really shows that they do care about this game and that do take it seriously. And right now we are going to start with the bans, and we see a Lee Sin ban coming in from Echo Zulu. So they don't want that Lee Sin to, yeah, just walk around in their own jungle to do some counter jungling and those ganks from Lee Sin. We've seen it a lot today already by Isuba. They made it very clear that Lee Sin is a great jungler.
Kha'Zix Lee Sin, that could force something really, really new into the gameplay. Ivern was already banned in one of the previous games. Ivern is not such an unpopular ban, so I feel like he also is going to get eliminated. Also, in this group, a lot of slack was put on Zac, and then we get a Warwick ban against Digital Paradox right here. Really, really interesting to see what it's going to be in the jungle. Ramos again, actually, yeah, they're going for the obvious picks right here, like Lee Sin and Kha'Zix, but then you've got a guy that just played Ramos in the previous game. He could execute it quite well. Plus, we already know what went wrong, and probably the coach has figured out the same, and he'll do even better on that game. And as I expected, Ivern is also banned.
Yeah, that still leaves open a Graves, so we have seen a lot of dominance yesterday by Graves, and also a Zac ban. So if Digital Paradox, if they now ban Graves, that really leaves us to, the second row of junglers.
Definitely Elise is going to be a little point of contest, but then the other jungler could be a little bit interesting.
Okay, so I just hear from the production that the picks and the bans, they are vice versa, so they are from the wrong side. So Echo Zulu, they banned Kha'Zix, Ivern and Jace, and Lee Sin, Warwick and Zac, they've been banned by Digital Paradox. And also watch out because the picks, they're also on the wrong side. So the first pick belongs to Digital Paradox here. And that's important because, yeah, we have to take a look at that. So the first pick is Illusion for Digital Paradox.
All right.
Echo Zulu, on the other hand, what are they going to do?
That would justify that Warwick ban a little bit. That would make sense, definitely.
Yeah, and on the other hand, the most interesting thing about this pick and ban phase is going to be who is going to be in the jungle for those two teams. What are we going to see? Maybe Graves, Elise, those two are still open. Those are champions we've seen a lot yesterday and already today. Elise was played. And we see a Lulu coming in. Finally, a Lulu support.
Okay. Very oftentimes, the Lulu was banned right here, also followed up by Karma, by Zyra even. And I'm still wondering if that Kled is once again going to be matched up with Graves, because these are the two champions I remember the most from the previous Echo Zulu game. So surely looking forward to that Graves, that would leave us with Elise too, so it would still be pretty standard junglers, and indeed.
Yeah, and there comes
Digital
the Elise.
Paradox.
Elise coming down for Digital Paradox here, just as you mentioned. They're going for a more standard way, but this was the chance to do something that's a bit out of the standard, but we saw it fail already, because in our last match, Isuba versus Instinct. Instinct tried to do something creative, but they failed at doing so. So going for a standard lineup here seems to be the choice of Echo Zulu. And now the Graves comes in.
Graves.
So yeah.
There's Graves. So that's gonna be what I expected to see from Echo Zulu in a normal kind of scenario. They're not gonna go for experiments, and that could be something that's really really nice to see, because they might go for the very same strat they used against Isaba, and really against Isaba it was hard to execute it because they are such a great team. While against Digital Paradox, all of that could work, and I was talking about it for like 5 minutes already. So yeah, these guys have the same idea.
Yeah, now we got to take a little bit of time, because as I already mentioned earlier today, the 4th and the 5th ban are not played out in this tournament, so we just wait until the timer ticks through that. And yeah, what did you actually think? Because I'm wondering a little bit, what did you think of that Galio performance in the last game? Because you were always saying you wanted to see a good Galio, but so far you didn't see anybody make good plays on him. So what about that performance, just to recall that?
Yeah. once again, the ultimates were not as on point as they could have been, should have been, and etc. But definitely liked it. Definitely lots of amazing taunts, lots of great charges in, and he was just controlling the team fights most of the time, getting a ton of assists for his team, and just doing what a real top laner, tanky top laner should be doing. Though additionally, actually, Galio is supposed to do some nice bits of damage as he's rather built more towards the AP builds, and that's exactly what we'd seen. So not only great crowd control, but also pretty good bits of damage, but just add some nice ultimates to it. Because I remember that one particular situation in the top lane when Fiora was being attacked by the mid laner, and Galio just dropped in, not behind the Fiora, but in front of the Fiora. So Fiora just fell back towards two other members of her team. So from making it a free kill, that Galio actually saved her, forcing her to go back.
And now we see another pick coming in, and it's Caitlyn, probably as the AD carry here today. We cannot be sure about that because we also thought that Lucian might be an AD carry and Syndra would go into the mid, but it was the other way around. So Caitlyn probably the AD carry here for Echo Zulu. Keep that in mind because the team names are switched to the wrong side here. On the other hand, we see a Syndra being picked by Echo Zulu. So once again, a strong mid laner for them.
That's Digital Paradox, but yeah, I'm really happy seeing that pick. That could work out quite nicely for them. They already have that Lucian additionally, unless they want to go Syndra AD carry and Lucian mid lane. But this far, I like this comp. It's quite nice. We've got a different jungler, definitely. It's not that Rammus. It's going to be the Shen, though, top again. That's what I'm worried about. That's what backfired completely last time. If Kilotina cannot make that Shen better, Digital Paradox is going to have some problems, especially with the Kled on Echo Zulu, who even against Isuba in a very horrible match for them was doing okay. While for Digital Paradox, Shen in his match was doing horrible. So yeah.
And as a last pick, we see Echo coming up. So Echo is going to take on the matchup against Syndra. This is also going to be interesting. But the last time, remember, Shen was going up against a Fiora. And Fiora, she's just a little bit, nerving in the early stages of the game. So Shen against Kled, this might work out a little bit better here for Digital Paradox. And if he feels comfy with this pick, he still should go for that, and maybe he's got the chance now to prove us wrong in not believing in his Shen play.
Fiora was actually picked in the previous match. Gilotino was going up against a Rumble, but still, nevertheless, these are not really similar champions, but the fact is Shen is supposed to be slightly out CS anyway. He's not such a strong contender. He's not going to be the dominator of the lane, unless he gets some good gank and actually start snowballing. But the fact is, losing by 120 CS under none circumstances should you be able to pull that off. Maybe if you're AFK, it's possible, but no, that was a whitewash. So no matter if it's Fiora, no matter if it's Rumble, no matter if it's Kled, anything, 120 shows you that it is the weakness of Digital Paradox. Now, did they figure it out? Maybe he was still half asleep or something. I don't know, but whatever it was, he's got to make it better.
Yeah, definitely. So just seconds away from jumping into that game. I hope that the players are ready, that they got it all set up.
Yep, so that Echo in the middle lane. It's also going to be the first time that we do get to see Echo. It's the first time today that we will get to see Lulu. And yesterday we did see a lot of stress put on that Graves. He was picked all the time. If not picked, he was banned all the time. Today, we'd only seen bans on Lulu for entirety of the games today. So as she finally gets picked, we'll find out if the 4 teams in this group can actually use her so well that it was worth banning her so much. But I believe that she's going to be very useful right here. I mean, looking at the team comp, overall, the Graves, the Echo, most of all, the Echo with the support of Wild Growth could be able to just wreak havoc completely. And also, you've got Kled. He'll just be running in. He'll just be hopping in with his ultimate. So, of course, the additional knock up that he's going to get from that Wild Growth is really helpful. And, I mean, you've already got a champion with amplified health with the use of Skarl. You're going to have another amplification in the form of the Lulu ultimate. That seems pretty scary. And once again, just brings me back to that. If Guillotina loses the top lane, he's screwed. He's screwed his entire team.
Yeah, definitely. And we're facing once more the pause screen here as one player disconnected, but he seems to be back as we're now jumping into the game. And for a little moment, I was scared because somebody was standing a little bit longer here in his own base, but now they're all strolling out.
All right, so we got, yeah, that's exactly the sides were just mistaken, so everybody's back to their own places. The picks and bans were just as we said, but Digital Paradox is on the red side and Echo Zulu on the blue side. That's exactly what we said at the very beginning of the picks and bans, that the teams had a problem with figuring out who's where. Well, just wondering how that. I mean, it's a good test to what we've seen a second ago. Because Instinct went with Lucian middle and with that Syndra on the bottom lane as the quote-unquote AD carry. So now it's going to be in the normal way, so to speak. And we'll see if it's actually going to be much more successful. Of course, these are different teams, different situation, but I just trust that it's more natural and it should work much better that way. So Shift is actually gonna also be the mid laner for this game for Digital Paradox. I know that these guys have very flexible subs and they're using different people in different matches. So it's gonna be Shift right here, but no one else actually changes at all. So Guillotina starts off in the lane, having a little bit of an advantage in the CS. Of course, Kled is going to get these creeps back as they didn't die to the turret or anything. He's not going to be outpushed at all. So everything's good, but it's also nice to see that Guillotina isn't completely struggling, that he's doing something out there. Oh, Shift walking back into that second tick of Echo's Q. A little bit unfortunate. Definitely doesn't want that to happen anymore. Dummy is the guy who was a pretty important member of Echo Zulu's team. When they played against Esub, he was playing Blitzcrank. And this guy had some really good hooks. When any situations were happening in favor of his team, it was always him doing that. So you've got to be careful about it. We've got a first blood in the middle, not really looking at it, unfortunately. But Flash is burned for both the mid laners. Additionally, Shift burned his Ignite too. He's got that kill. He's still pretty healthy. The only thing that he's missing is mana. Can stay in the lane a little bit longer. And now Hades comes in. Rako is also going to be flying in right there. Of course, it's an Echo. He's got a teleport. But Hades! He risked a little bit too much. He's going to be killed off by the turret. And that's just a 1-for-1. Not too sure if it was so worth it. Rako also burning his teleport. Did not even get an assist on that. So he's down with 2 summoner spells that are pretty important for him. And yeah, the Ignite just burned him down. So Shift, he's taken a little bit too much damage in my opinion a little bit earlier, but maybe it was just enough for him to land a couple more auto attacks that's led to this situation. And Hades going in so deep, and of course also the delay because he had to reload the shotgun in order to be able to fire another auto attack. That's really unlucky, and I'm not sure if it was the right way to do.
Yeah, we see that little scrimmaging here on the bot lane. Still really nothing to get out of that. Both teams may be waiting for an opening for the junglers.
Well, the junglers, that's a right thing to say, definitely, because Bambao was not so active last time with Ramus while we expected something else. This time, he was middle, but I don't feel like it was actually a gank. It was his reaction to what was happening right there. Shift getting the kill, and then getting pretty low, and Hell's Hades showed up right there. Then the teleport from Reiko. Everything just drawing him over there. Not sure if he would have made that decision naturally. Now he's going to show up from behind in the middle. And there's a ton of pings, and the red pings most of all. Easy don't know that he's right there, and that's going to be a good second kill in the middle. Like Rako, he's being bullied, and first of all, he died 1v1. Then he wasted a teleport without getting the assist and the kill on Shift. Now he dies again. He's going to be very far behind, and it would be so nice to actually get a huge advantage for DP after their top laner got completely stomped into the ground last game. So this time they have somebody that can actually torture an enemy player. Well, all the basic items are being bought up all over the place, but you can see a clear disparity between the bottom lanes. Right there's a BF sword for Caitlyn for Goose, while the AD carry of Digital Paradox has gotten himself only the lifesteal. It's not a lot of damage, definitely. Not the thing that he would be normally looking for. And here we go. Soon enough, some more stuff should be happening as we have Graves finishing off his jungle routes. There are pings on both the sides. Bambao was spotted out, but he's got a nice control board right there, and it's eventually going to be a point of interest. Hades will want to clear that out as he's already spotted it. While in the meantime, of course, wants to control the movements of the enemy jungler. And yeah, we were talking about Echo Zulu, what they tried to do against Isaba, the aggression that they tried to figure out. They did not do that this time. So Hades could have succeeded at it, but he didn't try it. His red buff did not get stolen. He did not get dominated in the jungle, but once again he made a questionable decision with that dive in the middle. And even if this time it's not as horrible as it was previously, once again I feel like it's far from comfortable for him. So a little bit more of that advantage in the middle lane starts showing up as that reaches 15 CS, maybe even 20 at some point. But once again, also Guillotina is starting to lose in the top. Really wondering how that's going to go. For these two people there, that's a good landed cocoon. Well, scattered the week way too easy after that cocoon. I lined it up for him. And with the chain CC coming through, it is an easy kill, but I want to go back to the game, to the first game of Digital Paradox today. These guys went for full CC comp with every single character in the team having some real strong CC, where they focused only on chaining it so much. But there you go, a simple cocoon that's scattered the week. You don't need an entirety of your team focused around just catching the enemy. You don't need a Rammus, Orianna, Ashe, with all the ultimate Zyra even for the ult and Strangle plus 2. It's just about chaining 2 combo, and it already is enough to grab a kill. So 3 kills lead in favor of Digital Paradox. Definitely a good start to the game for them. Definitely much better than last time, as how we mentioned. Both the first games of this group were pretty one-sided, where both the teams did not really have much to say. Ekazura and Digital Paradox, of course, I mean. And now the winner of this one is going to face off against Instinct, and it's still a tough call. Instinct has crushed Digital Paradox, and if that happens again, well, these guys will be pretty sad. But I don't see a quick way of fixing it in here. Well, the difference is in goal. That's what I'd like to see right now, because with that tempo of the game, I would love to see if anybody's actually caught up a little bit of a bigger advantage, because there's 10 CS in the top, the 20 CS in the middle, but we all know about it already. With the 3 kills though on Syndra, it could be really interesting. If she has all that gold advantage that Digital Paradox right now have in the form of 1,500, and that's exactly what is happening. There's 1,600 more than the enemy mid laner. I think you guys should remember what happened the last time we had a good fed Syndra. So right here, everything goes straight into the hands of Shift. And who is he? Well, he can be a little bit passive right there. Guillotine, nobody really expects him to exceed out there. He just has to survive this top lane. But with Syndra, he's still going to full heal his job. He's going to get a good Shadow Dash. That's going to line up a kill. A good Cocoon hits. It's going to line up a kill. Plus, I love that there's a Karma alongside with him, because that Syndra is going to be really scary. No matter what, you're going to be able to get off your ultimate. Don't always have to have that flash. It's now a Syndra with flash and ignite, but we did already witness a Syndra with flash and ghost today. And it's all about actually catching the enemy with that ultimate. It's all about the unleashed power.
And Digital Paradox just grabbing the Drake as well. Now waiting for the chance to fight here in the river. But for now, Echo Zulu look pretty safe in there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That Drake is surely going to be pretty useful. As Jay just mentioned, all the upsides of that Syndra that they got fed up for themselves, and now we've got an Infernal Drake to amplify her damage additionally. If the dragons follow up just like that, it could be a very important objective on the map. And I mentioned in the very beginning of the day that I'm waiting for a game where it's going to be like really constructed game plans up against each other, where we're going to get to see like big dragon objective fights, big baron objective fights, and interesting sieges, because it all seems so simple in the matches this far. Either a team completely demolishes the other, or has a slight advantage, so they get what is the closest to them, and that's it. Or it is actually, well, there's one more option where the vision wins the game, where somebody knows how to ward and the enemy team is completely in the dark. Now, who is he? Risking a lot. There's an ace in the hole. It's going to be blocked by the Karma, though, so he's not going to have to worry about anything. Shift, of course, spotted out by the many wards that are there from Echo Zulu, but yeah, that's not going to be too successful of an engage from Rako, and I don't even know if Rako actually still should be looking for fights. I don't know if he should not rather be afraid for his life. Good dodge of that Cocoon from Dyna. Luckily enough, he's not going to be caught, so that way Digital Paradox are not getting anything more, because it's hard for me to say that they keep up the tempo, because the tempo of this game is dead. Not much happening. By some chance there is some fight, there is some kill. But once again, just coming back to the fact that it's not really constructed at all. It's hard to call it a game plan or something. It's not like a step-by-step plan consisting of 8 steps. It's just step 1, and when we do it, we'll find out what to do next. So yeah, 4th kill on Syndra. Just feeding Shift more and more is is just really scary to see. He's already got the Sorcerer's Shoes, he's already got the Morellonomicon, and adds the needlessly large rod for that. While there's only the Hextech Revolver on Echo, and he just buys up a flask when he goes back, so still not really making it much better for himself, just increasing his own survivability by a little bit. $1,500. That's the difference, and it already was that difference even before that fourth kill has gone into the hands of Shift. So it all pretty much stays the same. Catching up with the farm a little bit right here if we're talking about Rako, but other than that, he's not able to keep up with the enemy mid laner. So as Shift has rotated over to the bottom lane, not only did he get a kill, but he also zoned out Rako, who wanted to engage on him. And now the flash is burned. And this is just a repeatable situation. It's a simple approach. Elise comes into the lane, tosses out a cocoon. She can do that again and again and again and again, but the flash is not available for Rako anymore. And this is the huge danger that he's facing right now. But also, both the summoner spells are down for Shift, so maybe he's going to be a little bit fine. Now Hades is going to join in the fray on the bottom lane. There's a good route towards the Caitlyn, but is going to be able to get away from there. Giltina with go ultimates, and where is he going to send the Shadow Dash? Misses completely, but it doesn't matter at all because Dummy was zoned away from his turret. He was finished off either by the AD carry or by the mid laner of the up-and-coming Digital Paradox. 6th kill for them overall, increasing the difference a little bit, the advantage for themselves, but it's still slow. They don't get a turret. You see, the first turret of the game actually goes into the hands of Dino in the top lane. Not good. You can clearly see how Digital Paradox struggle with that, and structures are just so important. Rotations are really important, so getting just these singular empty kills must not mean anything. It's 1,000 to 2,000 gold difference, and it can easily be turned around. And just take a look at that. Rako gets finished off with Scatter the Weeks. So unbelievable. The ultimate would not have been enough to finish him off, but he just lined up for multiple balls flying through him with Scatter the Week. I already saw a kill for Echo Zulu out there, and just imagine it was a 1v1. So it is possible for him to actually win here. Well, Amao catches out Hades. Is there gonna be enough damage from Uzi? Yeah, I think so. He also had the calling coming up in just a couple of seconds, so it would have been another kill for him. Dummy now not close enough the wall to flash over it, and not to mention that he didn't even have the flash, so he was dead. He just led them into the Dragon Pit. That's gonna be the Dragon Taken, and it's Infernal and Cloud Drake, so ramping down a little bit, but still something they can be happy about. Something to keep up the tempo, because if they're not able to take the structures, at least make it smaller objectives like the Dragon indeed. And now Rift Herald could be the choice of Digital Paradox, because that would help them with the push that they lack right now, and that would still keep the tempo up. So I would really like the idea of going for the Rift Herald if they did. And the CS difference in the middle and in the top gets even stronger. Two on one. It even gets dangerous on the Lucian. So even he is starting to ramp up, while just a while ago it was just Shift who was getting fed. Now still, the gold difference is not so big, nevertheless. And I really am looking forward to some structures being taken by Digital Paradox, because Echo Zulu are fighting another turret. It's 2-0 in their favor, and indeed, that gold difference can easily be dissipated. Now, Shift attacked a little bit by Dino, but Dummy has to be careful. There is Guillotine attacked by Hades. I'm not too sure if he could not have actually turned it all around. They had people prepared in the middle of the lane. Now there's a good Scatter the Week, a double stun out there in the hammer onto the faces of 2 people coming in from the upper side of the river. You can clearly see the strength, the power behind that Syndra. And already that Scatter the Weak is dangerous for a champion like Caitlyn. She is really, really squishy. And just that Scatter the Weak, just a 1 bowl is enough to finish her off with Unleashed Power. And yeah, indeed, the lack of the advantage in gold from Digital Paradox comes from the jungle creeps being heavily in the favor of Hades. But him also not being so useful for the team, and also from the top lane. And once again, Guillotine is getting crushed, and it's not as much as previously, but once again it's becoming pretty bad. But now Kled actually gets killed, so Dino, with his death on the bottom lane, he's gonna give up the first turret of this map in the favor of Digital Paradox. So they're finally starting to take the turrets, and they're also limiting the possibilities of Kled. And that's gonna be Shift very dead! Come on, that Stand United almost saved him, and there's the smite to save Hades from dying too. And that Grace is gonna be able to kill off these wolves, manages to do that. Nobody in the vicinity to kill him to finish off that, just less than 100 HP. But yeah, still very surprising of an ultimate from Shen, though not able to salvage what was left of his mid laner. Still, red buff stolen, the bottom lane turret taken, even the inner one. So that's some big consequences right there. Just Dino falls and 2 turrets are lost off the back of it. That's more than it should be, definitely. And I feel like Echo Zulu are a little bit behind following what's happening on the map, because they're not tracing down the enemy team after the death of Dino. Nobody really followed it up and went to the bottom lane. They tried to reply in the middle lane, but they're not in a state where they're supposed to do that. They're already so far behind that giving up on the turrets, the only advantage that they have, is really bad. The second kill goes to the hands of Hades, actually. The shutdown right there on Shift, that's cool. But you're not gonna just cut him off. That Syndra's still gonna be strong. She's still gonna one-hit many of your players. And that could be Hades himself, if he's not careful enough. We know that he likes to be aggressive. That's what they wanted to do against Isaba, but they were not successful at it. Now, he once again just gets a little bit of wind into his sails and thinks that maybe he can be a little bit more aggressive in the jungle, but I don't think it's a good idea. So let's take a look at the vision around the map, maybe, because I can see that Echo Zulu are actually ahead of that. They have both the rivers quite well covered. Of course, the bottom side of the river are a little bit better, but on the top side, they also have a single ward, and that's just enough, because right there, they don't really want to do much. They don't have anybody in there, so there's not going to be any danger through them not having that vision. And the bottom lane is very important, but even though they have the wards right there, that didn't save them from losing their red buff, from losing the 2 turrets at the bottom lane. So even that vision doesn't really give them so much, and that's what I don't like, because like the basics of going higher in rank is by a ward. Every single time some players from around gold divisions ask others how to improve, it's just stay aware of your surroundings. Just buy a ward every single time. Go back to the base so that you know if you're going to get ganked or whatever. And the second thing, the second step of that is actually using the vision. You buying the ward and placing it does not give you anything. You have to take a look at the minimap. You have to read the movements of the enemy players. When you see a jungler, it's the best information you can get. When you see a jungler, you could realize his timers, you could realize his path he's going to take in the jungle, and that makes the game so much easier. If you can transfer that info over to your teammates, all the better. But right here in the form of Echo Zulu, you see some empty vision, because as I said, they're not deciding to rotate after they're seeing what's happening on the map and stuff like that. Now another Infernal Drake is taken by Digital Paradox, and now the deep trouble begins for Echo Zulu, because soon these turrets will start falling. It's the 24th minute. Usually this far, We had some quick Barons around the 22nd minute mark. And now there's once again a possibility to go for a quick Baron. But for now, the vision is starting to disappear on the blue side. And Digital Paradox is just getting deeper and deeper into the enemy jungle. So the red color is starting to dominate on the map. And Hades once again saved. This is very interesting how always he can survive. The Cocoon still hits the Goose, but there was no more damage available for the Lucian. He already used up the calling and the rest of his skills. Had to fall back and cool down for a little bit. In the meantime, they lose it. There's Syndra in a 1v1 battle against Kled. That's really interesting. Shift also had to burn his flash while Dino has got his summoner spells. Hades, though, is finally caught out, and now there's nobody else who can save him. Previously, though, he stayed alive through Unleashed Power of Syndra with some shields. Now he was able to get salvaged by Lulu's Wild Growth. So he's pretty lucky, but, well, I guess third time's the charm, and that's the finisher. And the middle is going to be focused down. Even without shift, I don't think that Digital Paradox actually feel it so much. These guys will still be comfortable. Cocoon hits, but Dino's still got his Scarl, and that doesn't even get taken away from him. Baron. Could be really useful to place a lot of vision around it, but I'm not sure if they should attempt it already. But, well, Hades actually died around the Baron pit. If Shift didn't die in the middle, I feel like there would be a chance for Digital Paradox to go for that Baron. But for now, it all slows down again. I don't know, I feel like the Digital Paradox lack a little bit of consistency. I was talking about how that tempo always has to be picked up, just kept up rather than picked up maybe, just kept up in these matches, and the best teams are able to do that. Isaba, every single time they needed, they got another kill, another turret, just another Drake, just to keep up that momentum, just to let your enemies know that you're still there and you're putting up the pressure. And that's not what we see from Digital Paradox. And it all goes back to 15 minutes ago when I was saying that it's just random situations. So Digital Paradox, they're getting some random situations well executed. They're getting these kills, they're getting these turrets when nobody's looking, but they're not sticking it all together. So now, good kill on Dino, completely obliterated by, who is he? Now Rako could be dead right here in the middle. Oh, great usage of his Chrono Break. And actually he's going to be able to get away from there with the use of his flash. But that's already one man eliminated and a flash on the mid laner unavailable. The flash is also gone for Hades on the last situation. So he's not going to be able to so freely move into that Baron pit. And he will be probably caught out, stunned, dead, anything. And everything can happen to him in the meantime. But I have to resign. Just Lulu alone and a little bit of damage from the rest of her team is enough to zone out. Look, now Bambao is going to die to Dobby alone. Come on. How can a Lulu be so dangerous single-handedly? 1v3, no matter though, because just look at the kills. They sacrificed a jungler in exchange for Hades and Dami, and it's just big because Dino died a little bit earlier, so you can count it in, and that's 3 for 1. Nice. But they're still... I don't feel like they're doing anything with it. That was a stopped Baron attempt, and once again we're going to look at a couple of minutes of nothingness. At least that's what I expect, because that's what Digital Paradox served us this far. So 10 kills of a difference. The 30th minute is closing in. Maybe another Drake is going to be a point of focus for Digital Paradox. But we already know that Echo Zulu are not contesting it. So, yeah, that's the thing. We're probably not going to see any battle out there. But with 2 Infernal Drakes already, it's just huge for Digital Paradox. They're quite lucky to actually get these Drakes, and they're still kind of struggling on some occasions, especially when, as I said, Lulu is able to do so much to them, but Goose gets erased instantly as they take that turn. Great flash dodge, and that hits perfectly the mark. Guillotina earlier on when he teleported to the bottom lane, he missed the Shadow Dash completely, and I was afraid that he's not going to be able to play his champion as he was dominated by Rumble in the previous game. Once again, he was losing in the CS this game. Then that missed teleport situation, I was really afraid, but that is some really nice situation he's gone for. And there we go. The dragon is starting to get taken down. And that's the 3rd Infernal Drake. And this is gonna hurt. But do they have some
look
idea?
at how crazy that is. 3 Infernal Drakes going down for Digital Paradox. That has to hurt. And Zulu, they are in a very bad position already. And then even the luck on the side here of Digital Paradox. Still, we are in the 30th minute, though. And this is a long game. And the longer this game goes, the more it will even out, even in terms of items and late game stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly
also
the
Digital
thing.
Paradox, yeah, they have to make it something happen, and better do it quick because they are pretty much ahead right now.
They are, and then they were from the very beginning, but they still had just around 1,000 gold lead because they've given up on the turrets now. And again, they take the Drake, as I said, we don't expect a fight to happen right there, it doesn't happen, and they rotate around the Baron area, and now they're able to catch out Dami without losing anything. The Syndra also finds the kill on Goose, bottom lane's eliminated, Hades is forced to run for his life. One of the better attempts, one of the better setups if they are to actually do something right now. Unleashed power though, used up against the Chrono Break again, so Raku can easily, very nicely counter it, but Shift can single-handedly completely zone them out. He stuns the enemy, but later Hades is going to lose half of his HP to just one single ability from Lucian, and he will be dead in no time. Additional movement speed from Ardent Blaze, of course the Relentless Assault, and Baron Nashor is finished off in the meantime by the rest of the team. Who is he? Still chasing him down. And even if he doesn't do that, Hades is walking straight into the rest of the enemy team. Oh no, actually. Elise is recalled. Syndra has gone top lane. Karma's gone mid lane. So they don't even know what's happening around the map. They don't even see how their AD carry is struggling much right here. We're finding that kill, but he's finally eventually gonna be able to get it. And he turns unstoppable. He's still got 0 deaths. That's something to point out because last time in their match against Instinct, we were saying that the bottom lane was one of the reasons why they lost. And I mentioned a couple times that I didn't think that the bottom lane was the problem. Really, it was just a bad game. And indeed, turns out that it was true.
And now another chase is going on, so that's what Digital Paradox likes to do, just chasing Echo Zulu around here. Actually, I was wondering how long that Graves managed to stay alive here, but for now they don't choose to chase anymore. They're straight going for that Caitlyn here, and they will bring down that bot tower. And who is he? He's not even done with that. Caitlyn even goes for the Lulu here. And yeah, Goose already left with the game, but I think this has to do with some connection problems. I can't expect him to leave his team hanging here.
Well, we'll see if he's actually going to respawn before the game is over. I think that yes, Hades really low on health. He's going to be caught probably. No, the Lucian actually resigns and he's going to take the legendary on Echo rather than Graves. Dino trying to run away, just using the knockback. Skull jumps in and actually refills his HP so he can still try to go for the fight. But then Scat of the Week actually advises them not to, but shifts out of mana, so it could still be pretty complicated right here. And even though they have the Baron buff, even though they have the wave of minions, they are not confident enough, possibly because of the respawns, but Caitlyn is DC, so they definitely could have just closed it out right here. So 22-4. 8-3-4 on that Syndra. She's died a couple of times. Even in 1v1 situations, I cannot hide that I am not so impressed by this performance, because I expected it to be a little bit more one-sided after that Syndra got fed in the very early game. But as I mentioned, like, they could not snowball it enough. They had a lot of snow around themselves, but they just didn't keep the ball rolling. They just rolled it a couple of times, and they were looking at it, and possibly they were amazed at how great it was, not noticing that they could push it even further.
Now another turret falling down here for Echo Zulu, and who is he? Together with Shift, they are just pushing through another inhibitor, and now they're going straight to the Nexus Toast. And look at that, Rako, his HP just melting away, and with his ultimate boost, he just keeps them in check there, and they don't seem to even get out anymore. And with that, Digital Paradox will move on once more to face off Instinct.
Yeah, so Echo Zulu did not stand a chance against Isoba, but as I said, Isoba was a little bit stronger than Instinct, so I thought